it is easier for an individual to repent, but it is almost impossible for a country to repent. Okay, so we can say from a personal level, we still have a sense of transcendence. So that is why we can be challenged, we can be converted, we can be transformed. But for a government, for an institution, it is impossible to do it because it does not have any sense of transcendence. So that's why in the year 2002 or 3, something like that, when the American government, start to attack, to bomb Iraq, even though now we have enough evidence saying that, well, what they are doing is absolutely wrong and without any evidence or necessary. But we know that the government, the US government and even the British government never say, I'm sorry to do this, Also for the government, it's so hard, to ask them to repent, to transform. So that's why when Jesus said to us that, love your enemies, what does Jesus mean? Okay, now, so what is the time now here? I have to check the time. Okay, some of the biblical scholars trying to provide some hermeneutical understanding of what Jesus has said here. One of the sayings saying that when Jesus said, love your enemies, Jesus has no idea talking about the political enemies. What Jesus is talking about on the Sermon on the Mount is just talking about a personal relationship. Okay. Now, I cannot give you the details here, but I can leave my papers here. So if you want to read the whole stuff in the paper, then you can ask Reverend Paul, then he may help you to make copies of it. Or I don't want to go through the whole argument. What they are trying to say, because when you read the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus said, love your enemies, Jesus had used a lot of different examples to show what does it mean by love your enemies. For instance, like someone take your outer garment, then you also, give the inner garment, something like that, okay? When someone asks you to run for a mile, you run 6 miles, not run away, but do something extra, So now I can give you the whole details of the argument here. But what Jesus has said here is in a very personal level, not something related to the society, nothing related to the political structures, something like that. So just in a personal way, Well, if this is so, then we may say that, well, it is not bad to love your enemies because just in the individual, in the personal level. But if the enemy is a structure, is a government, is something more powerful, how do you love your enemies? So it's a different kind of thing. Okay. So that's why some of the scholars suggest that, well, we should not need to give equal attention to what Jesus has said here. So what Jesus has said here is only possible in a personal level. Has nothing related to the peace study than what we are doing here. Well, I do not know what you have done in the morning, what you are going to do in the afternoon and day after, I do not know. But it seems to me that what you are going to do is not just on a personal level. You want to look at the institutional and structural level. But what Jesus has said, well, has nothing related to this. So from this sense, then we have to ask, what is the meaning of love your enemies? Okay, so this is what I'm trying to give you in the coming minutes here. Okay, so you can see I have to go through coming to here. Okay, okay. So I want, first of all, before I try to provide different interpretations of what Jesus said, love your enemies, I think it is so important for us to understand what politics is. Okay, what the political structures or institution is all about. Okay. Now, one of the definition of the politics or the political sphere, it is a sphere categorized or featured by effectiveness. Okay.
Sorry?
By effectiveness, efficiency. Okay. So the political world is not guided by morality. It's not guided by the virtues like love your enemies, patience. No. The political world basically is measured by the effectiveness. Okay. So in other words, if you are the politicians, what you are concerned is not just to emphasize the value, but whether what you have proposed is effective or not. Okay. If what you have done is ineffective, you will be stepped down. So that is the reality of the political sphere. You know, for instance, I just give you a very simple example, and all of you may know it. Even though you are a good guy, you know, you are honest people, you know, but you do not know how to run the government. The people will not give you the vote. You can't say to them that, well, I'm a good guy, I take care of you, but I do not know how to take care of you. I do not know how to have a good policy. So even though you are a good person, but if you do not have any achievement in your rule, you know, during the ruling, during your presidency, you know, you cannot convince other people to support you. So what I'm trying to say is the effectiveness and the efficiency is the political value, not the morality. No matter whether the morality coming from the Christian values or from the Buddhist value, this is not important in a political sphere. Okay, so this is what I want to tell you. So, and secondly, when we look at the political world, it is not just about a matter of effectiveness, but also it is something related to the power. Okay, if you do not have the power, how can you put your thought into practice or to implement what you think it is good for the people or for the country? So the power is also important. You know, in other words, someone uses different means to gain power. So this is also what the political sphere is all about. So I do not know what happened in Japan or in Korea or in the Philippines, you know, counting the votes is so important, you know. So it no matter whether, I'm not saying that power is unimportant or power is dirty. We need power to implement our mission, our dreams and something like that. It's important. But how can you get power? This is another point, you know. And whether the power you have got it will corrupt you as well. So this is something that we pay attention to. So therefore, from the social theory, in order to make the political sphere less violence, and one of the social theories called Jürgen Habermas promote the idea of public sphere. Okay. So what the public sphere means that we come here to discuss from a rational way. We are not coming here to fight. We are coming here to give our rationale for the ideas that we promote. And we communicate with one another and we vote what is the best idea. So this is the whole idea of the public sphere promoted by Jürgen Habermas. Okay, so this is what we are trying to do in the political world. Now, my point here is, now if this is so, now I don't want to go into details here. Now my point here is, if the political sphere is just about the effectiveness, about the gaining of power, about the exchange of ideas in terms of good rationality, my concern is whether morality or whether moral value has any role to play in the political sphere. This is my concern. Okay. So whether we can talk about righteousness, whether we can talk about justice in the political sphere, or this is something, well, it's an abstract idea, it's never possible, you know. So this is my concern here. Now, I just want to share with you one observation. I think this may be also valid in your country. Even though most of the time we may say that the political sphere is not talking about the moral standard, moral value. Okay, it is talking about the effectiveness. But I found that most of the politicians, they will present a good moral picture in front of the public. For instance, I do not know whether it's true in Taiwan, you know, when the